set it to fly out over the water then eject?
No autopilot.
Wallace, Joey, fast.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me.
Why do we even hold these things anymore? He's gonna come back to life in like 6 months' time if we're brutally honest with ourselves, maybe a year at most. Seriously, come on. What did I just say? Hi, I'm Jack for Jack Media, and today we're going to discuss how Superman ruined dying in comics for everybody else. Roll intro.
So start ignition, count to zero. I just wanna be a superhero.
Well, welcome to the only show on the internet that doesn't spell check its channel name, or its intro, or its video names. That is not how you smell media, guys. Maybe somebody who's not dyslexic should work on this. I'll probably fix it later on in editing anyway. Okay. I love comics. You probably know that by now. I'm a super nerdy guy. That's what my whole show and shtick is about. But if you've clicked on this video, I'm guessing you either like and or love them, unless I've used a really misleading thumbnail, which I probably may do. Who knows if I will? Who knows if I won't? Anyway, in comic books, there are certain cliches, things that every comic book character goes through or has or will have eventually. For example, a lot of characters have both retcons and tragic origin stories, whether it's Batman's parents dying, Uncle Ben being murdered, The Flash's mother being murdered. It's all the same, a tragic backstory, Krypton exploding, or the idea of having a reverse version of yourself, or a gender-switched opposite, like Spider-Woman, Superwoman, Reverse Flash, Bizarro. But there's always been one thing that would stick out in my head, and it's always kind of annoyed me that nobody really calls the major comic book publishers out on this bullshit. And that is the fact that every comic book character that dies, somehow, after a few months, a few days, maybe even a few years, come back to life eventually. Don't believe me? Pick a rather well-known superhero, anybody, for example. We'll take Spider-Man, or Batman, or Superman. There's going to be a big event, they'll probably hype it up over a few issues, then this character will seemingly give their life in the battle, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, the universe has changed forever, Spider-Man's dead at the hands of Doc Ock. We wait a few months, there's a big shake-up in the stories, we see some new stuff, and finally, oh look, it turns out he wasn't dead the whole time, or we can bring him back to life. It's complete and utter idiocracy. I don't understand why we still leave this alone, but I'm calling bullshit on it.
Just lose it. Go crazy.
This all started in a dark and terrifying time that I'm guessing most of you have PTSD flashbacks to. Yes, I'm talking about the dark and terrible times that are known as the Radical 90s. Yes, this is a time where up is down, black is white, cats and dogs were friends, everything was just weird and shocking and to the extreme. It's all radical, and I don't understand this time. I'm not a child of the 90s. Well, I was for like a year and a half, but it's a strange time for comics. Everybody seems to be getting darker and grittier. trying for more realism, but in the wrong ways, if you understand me. If you look at their costumes, just look up any 90s version of a modern day comic book character and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But where does this idea of Jesusing up our characters, killing them off and bringing them back to life, really come from? Yes, most of it is, from what my understanding comes from this one story in the 90s known as The Death of Superman. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not have heard of it. Basically, The Death of Superman is a story in which Doomsday, a creature sent from ancient Krypton, comes to Earth and goes on a killing spree. He beats the Justice League, he beats all of Earth's defenses, and then it's up to the Man of Steel to beat this beast. But it's so strong and so brutal, the only way he can beat it is by giving his own life in the battle. This was a huge event. This was quite shocking to readers, as it was the first major example of a comic book character dying in a comic. Sure, he was a well-established character, but this shook the world.
Man of Steel has proven to be as vulnerable as the mere mortals who've looked up to him for more than half a century. Superman died Wednesday. East Greg Agnew reports on a world without the first superhero.
There were press events, it was all over the news. Superman stories sold more than they have ever sold before. It's mind-blowing how big this event was. And for good reason. It was the first time a major comic book character that was well established passes away in a fight. But why? Why would you do this? Why would you kill Superman? Basically, the Superman writing team was out of ideas. They were supposed to do the marriage between Clark Kent and Lois Lane, but the Adventures of Lois and Clark were going to do that on TV, so they couldn't do that in comics and not on TV. It was a whole mix and mess of stuff, but this led to a joke they had kept going the whole time at every writers' conference. Hey, why don't we kill the guy? And since they were running out of ideas, they just ran with it. They built up this whole event, and they decided to kill off the Man of Steel. Obviously, from looking at comics now and movies, Superman did come back eventually, and they just did the whole, oh, we thought he was dead, but he wasn't. Whoopsies. What, did nobody check his pulse? His best friend is the world's greatest detective. How did that slip past Batman? After this, every other comic book publisher just basically ripped off this story. They build up big events that would be felt across their universes, where a character, or thing, or person would finally die. But a few months later, or a year even, or a couple of years, these characters would come back to life somehow to be brought back through time travel or alternate versions. And it's pretty much the exact same, back to the status quo. Sure, they might have learned a lesson, but it's not going to affect the book as a whole. But that big event, that big build up to the death of Spider-Man or death of Batman, that's going to up your sales a lot. And that's what comic book publishers really want in the end, apart from to create quality content, is to make money, to sell more comics, and these big events do sell more comics. Recently we've got stuff like the death of Wolverine or the death of Batman in Endgame. These are big events, but these characters are probably going to come back. Bruce Wayne has already returned and Jim Gordon is Batman, but hey, Bruce Wayne's probably going to take over as Batman again, bring us back to the status quo and everything will be fine again. We've got X-23 taking over for Wolverine, and there's Old Man Logan in the universe. He could probably take over as Wolverine. If not, we'll always clone him or bring him back to life. There's always a way to get around a character's death. It's weird. It happens a lot, and I'm kind of sick of it because it takes the drama out of stories. Sure, maybe Superman just died, but we all know he's coming back in a few months. Same. Hey, Iron Man just blew himself up to save the Earth, but he'll probably be brought back to life, and that reduces the drama in the story. Therefore, we don't feel the need to be on edge every time, to be like, oh, he could actually die here, this may be the end of him. And well, this just brings the stories down. It reduces my love of comics. Don't get me wrong, I'm always gonna love comics and always have loved comics, but this always just takes away from it a little bit. But what are your thoughts? Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you've enjoyed this video and you want more, just share with your friends and subscribe, and maybe send me some money and I'll try and talk to DC and stop them from bringing people back to life. But seriously though, I'm just kidding. Tell me what you think about this topic in the comment section below. I've been Jack for Jack Media, and yes, I know that is not how you spell media. Thank you, and good night.
Now lose it. Just lose it. Go crazy.